In the quiet unfolding of later life, something begins to shift. The demands of career, the pull of ambition, and the responsibilities of family life begin to loosen their grip. The outer world, which once demanded so much attention, starts to quiet. And in that silence, a deeper voice can finally be heard. For many, this marks the beginning of an unexpected journey, a spiritual one. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist and thinker, believed that aging was not a period of decline, but a profound opportunity. He wrote that the second half of life is not about striving outwardly, but about returning inward toward the soul. Jung observed that the first part of life is necessarily focused on the external, building an identity, establishing a place in the world, forming relationships, raising families, achieving goals. It is a time when the ego is formed and strengthened, a vital part of growing up and surviving in a complex world. But past midlife, those external goals start to lose their urgency. Retirement arrives, children leave home, physical energy changes. The world no longer mirrors back the same sense of identity and worth. For many, this can feel like a crisis, but Jung saw it as an invitation. This stage of life, he believed, is when the soul steps forward. The ego, which dominated earlier life, now makes room for something older, wiser, and more mysterious. Spirituality, in this sense, does not necessarily mean religion. It refers to something deeper, a connection to meaning, to wholeness, to something greater than the personal self. Aging, when embraced consciously, can become a spiritual journey of remembering, releasing, and realigning with what truly matters. The signs of this journey are subtle but profound. A person may begin to feel a growing sense of stillness within, even amidst external changes. They may be drawn to quieter activities, walking in nature, reading philosophy, meditating, praying, or simply sitting in silence. Old questions begin to lose their power, while new ones emerge, questions about legacy, about truth, about what lies beyond life. There is often a pull toward reflection, not just of events, but of the deeper patterns and meanings behind them. One woman, in her late 60s, described how, after decades of working in finance, she suddenly found herself uninterested in numbers or markets. Instead, she began gardening. She spent hours in the soil listening to birdsong, watching things grow slowly. She said it felt like returning to something ancient, not learning, but remembering, not achieving, but being. Her identity shifted, not because she tried to change it, but because something inside her was awakening. This is the kind of transformation Jung spoke of, a shift from the outward to the inward, from doing to being, from performance to presence. In the rush of modern life, this kind of shift can feel radical. Our culture often resists aging. It values youth, speed, productivity. Growing older is often portrayed as a loss. But Jung believed the opposite. He saw it as an ascent into the inner world, where the treasures of life lie hidden beneath the surface. The spiritual journey of aging is not always easy. It involves loss, of roles, of physical strength, of certainty. It brings people face to face with mortality. But in that confrontation, there can be an unexpected gift: clarity. When one realizes that time is finite, priorities change. There is less concern for trivial things. The heart becomes more attuned to beauty, to connection, to authenticity. Many older adults find themselves drawn to simplicity. A cup of tea, a familiar song, the sound of rain. These become sacred. For some, this journey is marked by a return to faith traditions left behind in youth. For others, it is a new kind of spirituality, more personal, more intuitive. It may involve poetry, music, art, or silence. It may involve dreams. Jung placed great importance on dreams, especially in later life. He believed that dreams become more symbolic, more universal as people age. They carry messages from the unconscious, messages about what is unresolved, what is seeking integration, what is waiting to be seen. A man in his early 70s once shared a recurring dream of walking through a forest at dusk. In the dream, he followed a path he didn't recognize but felt drawn to. Each time he awoke with a sense of peace, though he couldn't explain why. A therapist familiar with Jungian thought helped him explore the symbolism. The forest as the unconscious, the path as the journey inward, the dusk as the transition into the final stage of life. The dream, in its quiet language, was guiding him toward acceptance. Spiritual aging is not about retreating from life. It is about entering it more fully, with open eyes and a softened heart. It is about becoming more human, not less. The distractions that once seemed important begin to fall away. In their place, there is a new attention to what is eternal. Relationships deepen. Even simple conversations can carry a weight of presence that was once rare. The need to be right, to win, to control. These give way to listening, to understanding, to allowing. There is also often a desire to give back, not in the sense of proving worth, but as a natural extension of a life lived. Wisdom, once gained, wants to be shared. Elders who have walked through pain and joy become quiet guides for others. They listen more than they speak. They ask thoughtful questions. They know when to step back and when to step forward. In many cultures, the elder is the spiritual center of the community. In modern life, that role has faded, but it is still needed. Jung believed that each person carries within them a unique inner pattern, a kind of blueprint of the soul. The spiritual journey of aging is the unfolding of that pattern. It is not about adding more, but uncovering what has always been there. It is about becoming more oneself, not the self created for others, but the self that was born to be. This process cannot be rushed. It happens in its own time, through its own quiet nudges. The natural world offers powerful metaphors for this journey. The tree that grows stronger at the roots as its branches age, the river that slows and deepens, the autumn leaf that lets go, not in fear, but in fullness. Aging is not a flaw of life. It is a design, a sacred movement toward home. In this stage, time may feel different. There is less future and more now. The present moment becomes more vivid. Gratitude arises more easily. Small things carry great weight. A grandchild's laugh, the texture of an old book, the smell of bread in the oven. These are not interruptions. They are the center of life. There is, of course, sorrow. Illness, loss, and physical limitations are part of the journey. But even these can carry a spiritual depth. Pain becomes a teacher. Fragility becomes a mirror. Dependence, once feared, becomes a doorway to humility and connection. Many people find that their faith, or their openness to mystery, grows not in spite of suffering, but through it. In the final chapters of life, the spiritual journey may bring a person to a place of deep peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of wholeness. There may be a sense that everything belongs, the joy, the sorrow, the mistakes, the triumphs. Nothing wasted, everything part of the mosaic. Carl Jung did not see aging as a falling apart. He saw it as a coming together, a weaving of the inner and the outer, the conscious and the unconscious, the past and the present. He believed that the soul does not age the way the body does. It continues to unfold, to deepen, to reach for truth. And so, growing older becomes more than a phase of life. It becomes a sacred passage, a return to essence, a walk toward the eternal, not in grand gestures, but in small daily acts of presence, in remembering who we are, in honoring what we've lived, and in opening the heart to what still remains. The spiritual journey of aging is not reserved for a few. It is the quiet inheritance of all, and it is still unfolding, one breath at a time.